All right, I'm going. So the supposed final trailer for Justice League has come out, and I have some thoughts on it, and ultimately, and I'll spoil where I'm going with this, I'm going to explain why I've come to the conclusion that I'm actually going to go see this movie now. And now, for you who are waiting for me to go, because this trailer is so awesome, yeah, that's not the reason why. The trailer is okay. There's ups and downs, but let me talk about those, and I'll lead in to where I'm going in terms of why I'm now actually gonna go see this movie. So the first thing is, it starts out, made me think of Field of Dreams. Actually, starts out, you know, with Lois dreaming, and there's Superman in this cornfield, and it's all very, you know, just getting a sense of the loss of him, and it's funny because it's what we should have for the loss of Superman, except that it feels like they're mourning a Superman that was not the Superman they'd actually been giving us in the two movies he'd appeared in. And maybe they're just kind of hoping to, like, cause a Nelson Mandela effect and, like, change the way that we remember that he acted as a character prior to that. I don't know, we'll see. But it wasn't bad. It was intriguing. It was nicely framed, and then then we got, like, the news reports. You know, violence and terrorism and all this stuff is up. You know, numbers are up, and the hope is fading from the world. And my immediate thought was, you know what? This world didn't seem like a world I would ever want to live in already. It seemed like a really dark, bleak, not particularly pleasant place to live. So when you tell me that it's now gotten even worse, you kind of leave me going, is this a world I actually care about if they save or not? Because, I mean, that's the thing as far as your stakes go. Whatever the heroes are protecting needs to be something worth saving, and the way this world has been built, if they're emphasizing it's now worse than it was the last time we saw it, I mean, like, in terms of escalation and scale and stakes, I understand why it's worse in terms of all that, but just, I'm left thinking, boy, at this point, you almost just kind of want to say, you know what, let the world fall apart, we'll start fresh and try again. And then we get to see the various characters. I do like this song choice, and it's on the nose, it's cheesy, the use of a cover of Heroes, which is a great song. But for whatever reason, I don't know what it is, I like this better than the use of Come Together from the trailer a few months back. For whatever reason, that one didn't really click for me. This one, which is in a very similar vein, very on the nose, it's a more modern sounding cover, for whatever reason, it's kind of working for me. I think maybe it's because, like, the song choice is cheesy. And I don't mean that as a criticism. I mean that in a good way. I mean that I mean it's cheesy in an embracing, yeah, it's silly, but come on, have fun with us. And there was something about Come Together that felt more like, aren't we so cool? I don't know. I'm reading into song choices and trailers now. You know, I'm watching there's a heck of a lot of red sky, and for me, that doesn't make the effects look great. You know, Cyborg carrying Aquaman, that was a neat little moment. I'm really not digging the vibe off of this Aquaman, but whatever. I'm surprisingly liking this Flash the more I'm seeing of him. So that's nice. The trailer in a vacuum, if this was the first trailer, I would probably be much more skeptical than I am in this video right now, and I probably wouldn't be rushing out to see this. And even now, I'm not necessarily rushing out to see it opening day, but I do think I am actually going to see this movie now. And that has to do with basically a couple of factors. The two main reasons that I had previously decided I was not going to see this film. The first was I was pretty much dead certain that I was going to hate every second of it. And then the second was that I didn't want to financially support the version of DC characters that Warner Brothers was putting into film. Both of those have effectively been changed. The first is, while I'm not necessarily believing I'm going to go in enjoying this movie, I now have a reason kind of beyond just hoping I get a version of these characters I like, because at this point, this thing has gone through so many alterations, so many rewrites. You know, it was clear very early on that immediately off the back of BVS, they were already trying to make it lighter. And, you know, that was in the middle of shooting, and then Snyder left and Joss Whedon came in, and there's obviously whole new plans for the directions of the DCEU as a whole. So at this point, I'm just kind of fascinated to pick this thing apart. I'm going to be really interested to sit in a theater and sort of figure out for myself, okay, this element here, is that something that was in there originally? Ooh, this feels more like in line with what they say they're doing now, so I bet that's something newer. That feels Snyder, that feels Whedon. And I have a bit of a morbid fascination in terms of just seeing how this thing is all going to come together. Now, if it manages to surprise me and actually be good and enjoyable, you know what? That'll be amazing. I have no expectation of that at this point, but I think as opposed to, and again, my personal assessment, if you like the movie, fine, but as opposed to BVS, which for me was just a mess. Like, there were a couple of decent elements, but overall was just a mess. This, I think, is going to be something that is just going to be fascinating. Not necessarily entertaining, at least not to me, to my sensibilities, but just fascinating to just sort of go, well, that's not something you would have gotten under normal circumstances. And, you know, I think that'll be interesting. And to my second reason, at this point, one of the most viewed videos on my channel was my very angry rant against Warner Brothers and the DCEU, which concluded with me saying I wasn't going to give them money anymore. If I gave them my money, then Warner Brothers would interpret that as, oh, what we're doing works, and they would keep doing it. However, at this point, that's not really the case, and it's been made very clear by numerous people from Warner Brothers involved in the various DC movies currently in production that they are and I've made a video about this already, they are de-emphasizing the shared universe nature. They're focusing more on the individual franchises. The thing as a whole is very obviously being moved in a new direction, and that to me says it's fine for me to see this movie because they're already moving the franchise as a whole away from what it was that I wasn't liking. So if this film is not actually going to be determining what the direction of the DCEU is anymore, they're already heading somewhere else, then I don't feel like my giving my money to this film is saying I want more of this dark, brooding, depressing thing, because they seem to have already realized that they need to alter that. So at this point, I'm okay chucking it my $6.50. I have a very cheap movie theater. So yeah. That's ultimately where I land following this most recent trailer. What are folks thinking? Was this new trailer a significant improvement? Was it a setback? Was it about the same for you? Did it impact your decision to go and see this movie while it is in theaters? Whatever your thoughts are on any of this, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, check me out on Twitter at Council of Geeks. Give a listen to the Council of Geeks podcast, available on iTunes and Stitcher. I'm also one half of the Punch Like a Girl podcast on the Fire and Water Podcast Network at fireandwaterpodcast.com. Until next time, this council is adjourned.